From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I am Estefanía Bravo, and this is From the South. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has accused the United States of plotting a new attack against him and his government. Maduro said that U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton is in charge of an operation hoping to assassinate the Venezuelan president and facilitate a coup d'etat. He said his government has evidence that the Colombian government is facilitating the training of Colombian and Venezuelan paramilitaries. Maduro said his government wants dialogue and respect between his country and the United States.
Hoy vengo otra vez
Now,
a denunciar
I come again
el complot
to
que desde la Casa
condemn
Blanca
that
se
plot
prepara
prepared
para
from the White House
violentar la democracia venezolana,
to attack
para
democracy in
asesinarme
Venezuela,
y para imponer un
to
gobierno
assassinate
dictatorial
me,
en Venezuela.
and to impose a dictatorial government in Venezuela.
Ha sido asignado
It
el señor
was
John Bolton nuevamente
John Bolton
como
was
jefe del
assigned
plan del
as the head
complot para
of
llenar de
this
violencia a Venezuela
plan to bring
y para
violence to
buscar una
Venezuela
intervención militar extranjera,
and to
un
seek
golpe de
a
Estado,
foreign
asesinar
military
al presidente Maduro
intervention
e imponer lo que llaman ellos
with a plan to assassinate
un consejo de
Maduro
gobierno transitorio.
and impose an
Lo estoy diciendo.
transitional government council. So this plan of John
Cuenta
Bolton's
con otro centro de operaciones,
has another operational
la
center,
base aérea de Tolemaida, en el Melgar, Colombia.
the Tolmeda
Aquí al frente de la
Air
Amazonas,
Base in Colombia.
And whilst denying his claims, the Colombian government has responded to President Nicolás Maduro. Through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the administration of Iván Duque has said that it is committed to political and diplomatic action to remove the elected government of Venezuela. The Prime Minister Theresa May has won the crucial vote of no confidence in her leadership of the Conservative Party. This means she has secured her immediate future as party leader and Prime Minister. The vote passed with 200 in favor and 117 against. Senior MP Sir Graham Brady delivered the news.
The result of the ballot held this evening is that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
Our correspondent Pablo Navarrete from London explains what happens now that Theresa May has survived the confidence vote.
So British Prime Minister Theresa May has survived a no-confidence motion put forward this evening by her party. She received 200 votes in favour of her remaining leader, opposed to 117 that wished to see her step aside. Now, the result is a positive development for her, of course. With her leadership in such turmoil, she became leader of the Conservative Party with 199 votes in July 2016. So many will see this as a positive result, some 63% of the vote. However, the problems will begin once again immediately when she travels to Brussels tomorrow for a summit. Leaders there have reacted positively to her remaining leader of the Conservative Party, but have once again reiterated that there will be no renegotiation of the Brexit deal, which has caused so much concern within her party, especially by the Brexit wing, members of which initiated this process. So Theresa May has survived the leadership challenge, which means that her party won't be able to challenge her for another 12 months, although she has made a commitment that she won't be fighting the next general election in 2022 for the Conservative Party. It will remain to be seen how she still thinks that she will pass the deal that was meant to be voted on Tuesday in the British Parliament, which she postponed. It has to now go to a vote in the British Parliament before the 21st of January. And as we know, the European Union leaders have said they will not be renegotiating. So Theresa May has survived for now. The remaining days will see where this now takes her and her Brexit deal, which is still deeply unpopular.
We thank Pablo for that report. And after the vote, UK Prime Minister Theresa May said she's pleased to have received the support of her colleagues. Speaking outside her Downing Street residence, she urged her colleagues to get on with the job of delivering Brexit.
This has been a long and challenging day, but at the end of it, I'm pleased to have received the backing of my colleagues in tonight's ballot. Whilst I'm grateful for that support, a significant number of colleagues did cast a vote against me, and I've listened to what they said. Following this ballot, we now need to get on with the job of delivering Brexit for the British people and building a better future for this country. A Brexit that delivers on the vote that people gave, that brings back control of our money, our borders and our laws, that protects jobs, security and the union, that brings the country back together rather than entrenching division.
May also called on politicians to set aside their differences in the best interests of the country.
And when I go to the European Council tomorrow, I will be seeking legal and political assurances that will assuage the concerns that members of Parliament have on that issue. But while delivering Brexit is important, we also need to focus on the other issues that people feel are vital to them, that matter to them today, the issues that we came into politics to deal with. Building a stronger economy, delivering first-class public services, building the homes that families need. We owe it to the people who put us here to put their priorities first.
And in Ecuador, our correspondent in Quito, Denise Herrera, has the latest about Jorge Glass's situation.
Hello, good morning. Former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass has suspended his hunger strike after 52 days. Via Twitter, the former Foreign Minister of Ecuador, Ricardo Patiño, confirmed and announced Jorge Glass ends with his hunger strike. He said that this action was an example for all of them, and also said that they will continue by his side until he can recognize and prove his innocence. We should remember that Jorge Glass started this hunger strike after he was transferred to a maximum security jail in La Tacunga. Now, their friends and his family said they will continue with the struggle to prove his innocence. It's all for now. Back to you at the studio.
Thank you, Denise, for that report. And a court in Quito has heard Julian Assange's appeal of new rules imposed on him in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Assange has undergone a series of medical tests in accordance with the new regulations. He also has to pay his phone bills and clean up after his pet cat. The WikiLeaks founder took refuge in the Latin American country's UK embassy in 2012. But his relationship with Ecuador has grown tenser since the election of current President Lenín Moreno. Costa Rican Vice President Epsi Campbell has resigned from her position as Foreign Minister following controversy over a series of nominations she made. Our correspondent Fernando Francia brings us more details.
The resignation of the Foreign Affairs Minister, Epsi Campbell, the first Afro-woman to hold this position in Costa Rica, is the main topic of discussion in the country, in the media and in the political scene. This was prompted by a series of reports regarding nominations in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of people that didn't have a diplomatic career. This practice has been taking place for years in different administrations, but it is now when it is at the center of the controversy and has provoked the resignation of the foreign minister. Campbell used to criticize this practice when she was an opposition lawmaker. She used to call this practice corruption, but people say she has fallen into the same behavior. She will remain as vice president, and she was chosen for this position by the citizens, along with the president Carlos Alvarado. That's all for now. We're still waiting for a new nomination for the foreign ministry, and we'll keep you updated.
The COP24 climate change conference in the Polish city of Katowice has entered its last week of negotiations. About 100 ministers from all over the world are discussing how to reach a global pact on climate change. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged governments to reach an agreement. Worldwide organizations said human rights cannot be forgotten in this fight.
Here in the negotiations, that one of the things that we're very concerned about is how human rights and public participation are constantly trying to be pushed out of the text of the rulebook, which is a very big concern for us, because this kind of topics are essential for our region, since there's so much conflict in terms of how the environment is being defended.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's been 24 days since the migrant caravan left Central America to cross the U.S. border. Our correspondent Pablo Perez has the details.
Well, it is the 24th day since the migrants from the migrant caravan arrived here at Tijuana, Baja California, in the border between Mexico and the United States. And, well, it has been revealed the contents of the letter that members of the caravan delivered yesterday at the North American General Consulate here in Tijuana. In that letter, they do not only responsibilize the United States government for what they call the obstacles they put in to the ones that are seeking refugee or asylum status, but also they say that the United States has some high level of responsibility in the situation of their original countries, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. They blame the extractivist policies of the North American, the United States companies operating in their countries well into the last century, and also they blame for the back of the United States government to the government of the Juan Orlando Hernandez president, that they say was elected in a non-democratic election. That lets us remember he has a close contender in the leftist candidate, but they say the election was rigged to favor Juan Orlando Hernandez, that then was backed up by the United States government. And so they say the United States have a high level of responsibility and the condition that forced them to leave their countries.
We thank Pablo for that report, and around 100 migrants have marched on Tuesday to the U.S. consulate in Tijuana to deliver a petition requesting their asylum claims be processed faster. Migrants holding flags of their native countries in Latin America walked along a highway to get to the consulate. They were stopped outside by the Mexican police with riot gear.
We're only asking that they accelerate the process, that more people are able to pass through each day. That's all we're asking, and that for us to apply for asylum, the same people from the government evaluate us and decide who really gets political asylum.
The Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has signed a bill to withdraw the education reform proposed by his predecessor Enrique Peña Nieto. López Obrador said he wants to replace the reform for a new initiative which guarantees free education for all. He added the new reform also includes a parents and teachers pact. The proposal will now be sent to Congress for its approval. And also in Mexico, millions of worshippers have visited the Basilica in Mexico City, built for patron saint, the Virgin of Guadalupe. The annual pilgrimage marks the anniversary of the day in 1531, when the Catholic saint is said to have appeared to an indigenous man asking him to build a church in her honor. The event is considered to be significant in converting indigenous Mexicans to Catholicism. And Pope Francis has released a Cardinal Francisco Errázuriz from his counselor duties at the Vatican after the Chilean was embroiled in the sexual abuse scandals that are rocking the Catholic Church. Our correspondent in Chile, Tiare Valenzuela, has more.
Cardinal Errázuriz has been removed from his position in Pope Francis's circle of councillors. He has been accused in Chile by the survivors and victims of sexual abuse of covering up the crimes committed against them. They were victims of former priest Fernando, who was working at the church and sexually abused minors. They, who later denounced him to the bishop. However, Erazo decided not to investigate further and closed the investigation for this case. The case was up in the air until Pope Francis sent 2 people to investigate. Pope Francis has decided to accept the resignation of bishops involved in these cases and will now release Cardinal Errázuriz from his councillor duties. There is crisis in the Catholic Church in our country, and this is a step towards justice for these victims of sexual abuse inside the church.
We thank Diare for that report. And moving on, it's been 4 months since the start of the Venezuelan return to the homeland plan. And so far, over 10,000 people have participated in the government initiative, many denouncing xenophobia and work-related abuses.
The return of Venezuelans to their country is making an impact internationally. The stories they tell speak of the abuses and politicization of migration, something they themselves had to discover.
We experienced humiliation. At one point, some kids spit in the face of my son. That, to be honest, was an extremely low point for me.
The government plan to assist in the reparation of citizens has been attacked by the media, but at the same time hides the reality of other countries that do not respect basic rights.
Social nature and human nature have to affect governments which don't take care of their people. And so surely this has created some uneasiness among those who have attempted to keep Venezuelan migrants in some sort of sequester in other countries. They do this in order to paint them as suffering in order to receive international aid funding and continue the campaign against Venezuela. I think the main reason why the program has been attacked is because it's a program which has been effective, visible and overall dignified, because people are returning to Venezuela in the best possible way.
It was a way of being treated. I don't know how to describe to you how bad it was for us there.
They describe the xenophobia, the labor exploitation, and the discrimination that the international governments do not talk about.
Xenophobia is an induced process. It's transmitted culturally. It isn't something we're born with. People have been loaded with that xenophobic dynamic as if it were a natural process of human life.
Many of the more than 10,000 Venezuelans who have returned come from a reality that they hadn't known. The government had this to say about it.
Today, for the first time, Venezuela has economic migrants who suffer exclusion and violations to their human rights in the countries they have migrated to. And Venezuela can say that we defend our model because Venezuela is the country that receives the second largest number of migrants on our continent. Over the last decade, we have received immigration from Asia, from Africa, from the Middle East, from Europe, from our continent. We have taken them in as they are, our brothers who have arrived at our borders for a better life or for personal reasons or fleeing war, as in the case of Colombia. There are up to 6 million Colombian migrants.
Up until now, the return to the homeland plan has returned Venezuelans from 8 countries. The Venezuelan Foreign Ministry has said that the plan will remain active for the year 2019 in order to continue defending the human rights of Venezuelans.
A group of gay footballers in Brazil are showing their concern about the upcoming government of Jair Bolsonaro. They are vowing a campaign of resistance, but fear that 2019 may be a dark year for the LGBTI community. Gay footballers already face homophobia in the sport and say Bolsonaro's comments won't help.
I think the upcoming future, 2019, will make us look towards resistance. When I say resistance, it's not about militarism or anything like that. It's about resisting in order to keep on existing.
The president of the Caribbean Court of Justice is bringing down the gavel on countries that have failed to join the regional court. Only 4 of 15 Caribbean states are signatories to the court's appellate jurisdiction. Justice Adrian Saunders is telling regional countries to stop procrastinating and get on board as full members. He added that some states do not need a referendum to join the Trinidad-based court. Last month, Grenada and Antigua and Barbuda voted against the court replacing the London-based Privy Council. Justice Saunders says while this outcome was disappointing, it will not deter the court from bringing an instrument of justice. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has accused the opposition of partnering with politicians opposed to Maduro to derail the major gas deal signed with Venezuela. Speaking in Parliament, Dr. Rowley also dismissed opposition claims that the deal would not be honored.
I'm aware, Madam Speaker, that members of this opposition in Trinidad and Tobago have been trying to get members of the opposition in Venezuela to oppose this matter. Correct. Madam Speaker, I make no further comment at this time. But Madam Speaker, after a year and a half of the successful conclusion of this international agreement, lo and behold, one individual from the Venezuelan opposition comes to Trinidad and Tobago to say that the agreement may not be honored.
We'll be back very soon. Stay with us.